Guys, how you doing today? I've had a few questions about uh, how I take care of my begonias, and so I figured I would just make a video and be done with it instead of trying to answer, type everything out in an answer. Um, Now, what I do with my begonias is, first of all, I keep them in a very, very bright light. Um, I keep them in between a south window and a west window. Now, my south window has more bright light, but I don't have room for all of my begonias in a south window because I have more plants that need to be in the south window. So I split it up. Um, and I also have a grow light. So that way on cloudy days I can turn my grow lights on and keep all my plants happy that like the brighter light. Um, So either keep your begonia in a south window or a west window or under a grow light. They like a lot of light. And now this is for winter care. Now in the summer, when it gets warm enough and I can take all my begonias outside, I keep them in an area on my patio where they get morning light all morning long, and then they're shady, but it's still bright in the summertime. So morning sun for your begonia is fine. And when you're taking your plants, this is another thing. When you're taking your plants outside for the summer, if you do, you don't want to take them from inside your house where they've had, minimal winter light and then just throw them outside out into bright summer sun. You want to gradually move them because otherwise they'll get burnt. You'll start having a bunch of problems. So as far as watering, you've got to know your plant, and you want to also be very aware of the size of the pot that you have your begonia in. Like these two begonias are bigger and they are in bigger pots. These begonias down here are in smaller pots. So of course they're going to need watered more than my 6-inch or my 8-inch pots are going to. But normally for me, in the home in the wintertime, and depending on your humidity, because if your humidity is higher, they won't need watered as often because you're not constantly, you're not fighting with dry air all the time. So usually, like for my bigger pots, I let them go down about 3 to 4 inches of the soil drying out before I will water them thoroughly. And that's probably about every week and a half. It just kind of depends. The smaller pots need watered a little more often, maybe once a week, maybe a little bit more often. Like this pot is smaller than this pot. This is a 4-inch pot and this is like a 2-inch pot. This little begonia needs to be watered more than she does, or that pot. Even though this is in a terracotta pot, it does dry out faster than the plastic pots do. So if you're having problems keeping your begonias watered, you may make sure that they're in a plastic pot and not terracotta. And you'll get to know your plants, how they look, how they're reacting when they need to be watered. Now, I don't like to let my plants droop or bend before I water them because I think it puts more stress on your plant. I like to do it before it gets to that point, but sometimes you can't always get to your plants in time. So, and a lot of times just picking your pot up, you can tell if it needs watered or not. And always water your plants thoroughly. Give them a great soak. You want it to you want your water to run out of the pot, because that's going to help wash away salt buildup and things that are in your pot. Um, okay, so that's that. And as far as feeding my begonias, I feed my begonias my all-purpose plant tone. That's what I feed all of my house plants. And I also feed my plants coffee. I put brewed coffee in my water jugs, and I water my plants with coffee every single time that I water. Now, if your plants are growing in the wintertime, they need to be fed. Otherwise, you're going to find they're going to look lanky, they're not going to look right, they might not hold their color. And it's going to take them a while to bounce back from that. So if your plants are growing, which I have very few that don't, because between keeping them in a south window or a west window or under my grow lights, they're growing. So they need to be fed. So just be mindful of that, because I think that might be some of the problem people might be having. Now, if you're not keeping your begonia in a brighter light, that is going to be another problem. You're going to want to move them into a bright light, into a south or west window, or under a grow light. Begonias like a lot of light. So, and you also want to make sure that you're turning it. Like every time I water a plant, I turn it at least a quarter to a halfway, depending, I turn that plant. So, bright light. Make sure that you're keeping up with your watering on begonias. Make sure that your humidity is at least 50% or more. And feed them. Begonias like to be fed. Now, in the summertime, my begonias, they take a lot of water because it's hotter. They're in way brighter light, even though they're only getting the morning sun. It's still hot during the day, so they're drinking a lot more water, and they're growing a lot in the summertime. And the more they grow, the more food they need, and the more light they need, and the more water they're going to need. So keep that in mind. And when you're taking them outside in the summer, do it gradually, move them. Like when you first take your plants outside, put them in a shadier area for about a week, and then move them a little bit more to where they're originally going to stay for the, for the summertime. Because my begonias live out on my patio in the summer, and they get morning sun all morning long. And then as the sun moves, my apple tree shades them up, and they're still in a bright light, but they're not in the sun. They're in a bright shady area. And they love it. They grow like crazy. Oh, like this plant, last year when I got her, she was just a little thing. And she grew like crazy all summer long. I brought her in the house, threw her in a south window, and she continued to grow. She continued to grow so much that I had to cut her back a little bit. So just once you get to know your begonia, what it looks like when it's doing well, you're going to know your begonias a little bit better. And if you see that no matter what you're doing for your begonia and it's not growing, take her out of her pot and look at her roots, because it could be root bound. It could need to be fed. It could need new soil. I mean, you've got to just try everything, because a lot of the times, like one begonia I had, she wasn't doing very good, and all she needed was to be repotted and have some fresh dirt and some food. So once your soil quality starts lacking, um, your soil holds nutrients in it for the plant. So once your soil quality starts lacking, just a good old repot, knock off some of that dead dirt, look at your roots, figure out what size pot it's going to need, and put some fresh soil and food in there and let them go crazy. But alright guys, that's pretty much it. I think I covered everything on how I take care of my begonias. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.